Gang, what is up? Amazing game Thursday night. Seahawks outlast the Rams. Things change in the NFL really fast. Last week, I talked about players to trade for here on this channel. Even that list is, just a week old. It gets out of date. I thought I'd take another look at the trade market today and talk about 5 players to trade away. Now, first off, you're going to say, okay, you're nominating these guys. Who should I trade them for? I'll do my best to give you an idea, but the right answer to that question is aim high. You should try and get stars. You should try and buy distressed assets. You're looking for 2-for-1s. You want the one. You want to deal the 2s. There's really not a right answer for what level of player. There's not a neighborhood you have to start asking for. No, ask for a lot. See if they bite. And then if you have to, diminish the offer from there. Have in mind how low you would go. Next, of course I'm not sure about any of these guys because I cannot see the future. These players I'm going to mention all have obvious value and obvious upsides, and to deal them away we'd be taking a risk. But if you're playing poker, there's a book you're supposed to follow, and my opinion is that the book for fantasy football says try and trade these guys if you can get a lot for them. So I did this list on the podcast last week, and Melvin Gordon was on it, and he's absolutely the one I feel least sure about. I'm a big fan. Anybody who listens to my podcast knows this. I've defended Gordon through years of people talking about how low his yards per carry is and how much better his backups are. Danny Woodhead, shout out. So this isn't me criticizing Melvin Gordon as a player. It's me saying, I'm not sure the market is pricing the uncertainty of Gordon before he ever plays a snap in 2019. If nobody in your league wants to give you a true superstar for him, good, fine, keep him. See what he does. But are you sure Austin Eckler's going away? In the 11 games Gordon and Eckler both played together last year, Gordon got 68% of the snaps, 69% of the touches. Now that's not pure full-time, but it's a lot. By today's NFL standards, it's close to full-time, to be honest. We're guessing about what this breakdown is going to be for 2019, with Gordon returning from his holdout in Week 5. Don't know what the workload's going to be against the Broncos on Sunday. Don't know what it'll be for the rest of the year. Sight unseen, is Melvin Gordon really a no-brainer top 10 overall player in fantasy right now? I mean, he might turn out to be. That's his ceiling. It just doesn't seem like a no-brainer. Eckler has been good. Gordon probably leaves after this year via free agency. I don't know. By the consensus rest of the season ranks at Fantasy Pros, I can get Le'Veon Bell for him straight up. I could get his teammate Keenan Allen for him straight up. Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas. I mean, it's going to take a superstar. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with Gordon because I really do think he's a good player. But I feel like at that price, there's no risk baked in that Eckler's role is just way bigger than 30% this year, the rest of the year. Okay, be right back. I will count down the rest of my list. I'll try to be a little more convincing on some players. Let me take a quick break to thank Mott & Bow for sponsoring today. And you seriously got to get a pair of these jeans. They are designer jeans, handmade. The craftsmanship that goes into them is obvious when you get a pair. Do they cost a little more than department store jeans? They do, but I've been wearing Mott & Bow jeans for 4+ years. I have pairs that I got in 2015, and they've held up amazing because the construction is so solid. Department store jeans do not last that long. They are incredibly comfortable. They break in after one wearing. You will feel the difference, and we can get you 15% off your first order. Click the link below. It'll take you to their site, generate a custom promo code just for you. If you get a pair, you'll see what I mean. Mott & Bow. Okay, we're back at it with some trade-away candidates. And listen, I know how scarce tight end is. And if you've got one of the 8 guys who seem like made guys right now, you count yourself lucky and you keep playing them. Yes, that is correct. Unless someone really wants to overpay you for your guy. If the price was right, I would trade Mark Andrews. I'm not predicting that Andrews is going to plummet out of the starting fantasy tight end consideration, but I think there are things about him and his situation that make it possible that his stats slow down a little bit, and I think you can cobble together enough tight end production from some other guys. maybe starting with Gerald Everett of the Rams, who had such a big game on Thursday night, while boosting yourself at a different position. In Andrews' case, I'm concerned that since the Ravens are no longer playing Miami and Arizona week 1 and week 2, he's got 7 catches for 46 yards. And I'm concerned that so many other tight ends play for the Ravens. 28 snaps last week for Andrews. Maybe related to his foot injury, but that's a worry unto itself. It seems to be sort of chronic. Plus, Lamar Jackson doesn't always exactly throw straight. I'm not calling Andrews bad. I'm saying if I can get a ton for him, I'm interested. He has the gaudiest stats, right? So he's the one I hope I can get someone to overpay for. Now, what's overpaying? Andrews should certainly bring you, Larry Fitzgerald straight up. I think I would do that. Deshaun Watson? Definitely, I would do that. Even better, 2 for 1. Andrews and a waiver wire running back for someone good. Let's pair Andrews and Devontae Freeman, not a waiver wire running back, but Devontae Freeman, who I don't think is going to bounce back and be awesome this year. If I was going to say Todd Gurley. He scored another 2 touchdowns Thursday night. I don't know, maybe you can point to his yardage totals and sell a hipster that they're the ones selling high on Gurley. I don't really want to put parameters on it. I just think the position Andrews plays, I don't think he's going to totally crush the production of the number 9 tight end, the one you can sort of figure out as you go along. This is not a must dump. He's not a bad player. I think you can get paid. Okay, I got a few more guys on the list, and maybe I feel like I would be a little more aggressive on seeing if I could get rid of them, also acknowledging that maybe they won't bring the absolute highest return, but you never know. I sort of want you to check into these guys if you've got them, see what the trade market might be. Carlos Hyde, not exactly coming off a magical week against the Panthers, 12 carries, 58 yards. He's been a top 30 fantasy running back to this point with only 1 touchdown. I intensely dislike yards per carry as a statistic, but if your trade partner likes it, 4.8 yards per carry. He's 14th in rushing yards, and I think you can also point to usage. Any idea we had that Duke Johnson was going to get a crack at being a feature back? That's gone. Hyde is the early down back. Johnson plays in pass-catching situations. Hyde, as you can see, plays on the goal line. He's the one who's going to get carries in there. Deshaun Watson, of course, can steal some of those goal line touchdowns, but we don't have to tell our trade partner that. I'd say you sell this as a powder keg ready to go off. He's only got 1 touchdown, but he's playing on the goal line. It's a pretty good offense. We're talking about upside, a possible double-digit touchdown season. The fact is, though, that this Hyde production so far reminds me a little bit of what September was like for him in Cleveland last year. It's like 40, 30 yards and a touchdown over and over. This year, he has scored only once, and his fantasy points each week are still respectable. Especially in standard, he's between 6 and 10 every game, even without touchdowns yet. My sense is that people could value him as a low-level RB2, certainly as a high-level flex, at a really scarce position. You might get nibbles. I would take those nibbles. I just don't think Carlos Hyde at this point in his career is any more than a unidirectional banger. On a lot of our teams, he's a spare part. I would trade him for a depressed asset, Stephon Diggs, with all that risk in a heartbeat. Distressed asset, Calvin Ridley. It's going to get better, I think. I'd take a chance on James White. I basically, my point here is I don't want to go anywhere near my fantasy playoffs being like, oh baby, hope I get 3 good games in a row from Carlos Hyde. At number 2, I have Matt Ryan. I picked on Matt Ryan a little bit on Wednesday evening's YouTube show. Now, I acknowledge that since I put Ryan on this list on the podcast, his stat output, his fantasy point output against the Titans wasn't great, right? And it dragged him down to right around QB 10 overall so far this season. 4 games, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It's not great. So I guess I would prefer to have dealt him coming off week 3 where he threw 3 touchdowns in a late comeback effort, but I think you can point to Ryan almost throwing for 400 yards, albeit once again in week 4 after spending a long time spinning his wheels in neutral, but your trade partner doesn't need to know that. Going into week 5, before the week 5 game started, Matt Ryan was second in passing yards. I think for a Matt Ryan fan, you can still make the case they're trading for a top 5 fantasy quarterback. I just personally happen to believe that's not true. If there's a perception out there that Ryan is like a big upgrade on the likes of, Brady, Prescott, I think Baker Mayfield bounces back. There are too many solutions at quarterback for me to view Ryan as untouchable in a trade. He's fine. He's just not better enough that I wouldn't pull the ripcord if I could get something. Can I get Alshon Jeffrey for Ryan? Sort of a quasi-distressed asset whose consensus rank is lower than Ryan's? At a scarcer position, I think I do that. I think I figure out QB as I go. I don't know. You might think I'm crazy, but before Thursday night's Russell Wilson explosion, Ryan's consensus rank was still higher than Wilson's. Cortland Sutton, I would do that. And again, I don't love giving you one-to-one comparisons. I want you to baffle them with BS. Matt Ryan and Leonard Fournette for David Johnson. Ponies for a horse. And finally, I think the biggest, most obvious sell high in fantasy right now should absolutely be Jordan Howard. You want the impulse buyer here who saw Howard for the first time in person or on TV last Thursday night, saw him go bananas against the Packers to the tune of 115 scrimmage yards and 3 juicy touchdowns, which boosted Howard all the way up to RB14 in fantasy in standard leagues for the season. Tell your trade partner to ignore the part where Howard had 99 yards rushing and 1 touchdown in the 3 games prior. No. The Eagles have discovered something. They now know where their bread is buttered. How's it not going to be Howard going forward? And yeah, even if all the other Eagle running backs still play, don't worry, Howard's the touchdown maker. He's the battering ram. He's going to get all the close-in work. I'm not a big fan of Jordan Howard. I think he's a one-speed banger. But even I admit, there's scariness to trade away a guy who just scored 3 touchdowns. He has back-to-back 9 touchdown seasons the last 2 years. He's got 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons in his career. He's not without talent. But you want the impulse buyer here because Howard's not special and honestly doesn't even fit the Eagle offense that well. I don't believe anyone in that Philly backfield is enough of a difference maker talent-wise to demand that they scrap the mega platoon that we know that they love. Someone desperate for a running back, go try it. I would take a chance one-on-one with Mike Williams or Ronald Jones. Lots of people straight up, but again, if you take nothing from this video, aim high and ponies for a horse. Partner Howard up with another player with big stats so far who you claimed off waivers. DJ Chark. Someone like that. Go get a 2-for-1. Jordan Howard, DJ Chark for Joe Mixon. Someone who, definitely has struggled to this point, but you believe in. All right, so that's our lessons for today. But maybe you don't have any of these players and you still have trade questions. Ask us some trade questions down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer some.
Thanks so much for watching. Please smash that like button. Write a comment. Tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on. And of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.